Alrighty, hello every folks. Good evening, afternoon, whatever it happens to be in your particular neck of the woods. In a bit of a shocking turn of events, apparently today was just a full day of various types of releases because One Vision 1.10 finally came out today. So we're going to be kind of addressing that whole thing because there's actually quite a few changes that happen in this one. So that's pretty darn exciting, I think. While we're going ahead and waiting for folks to kind of filter in here, I just kind of figured we'd kind of go ahead and talk about this thing a little bit. Okay, so one thing that actually seemingly has come up at the start of every one of these kind of One Vision streams here. So as far as Steam Deck availability, like, is One Vision available on a Steam Deck? Because a lot of folks actually played Reborn on a Steam Deck, and so obviously there's a little bit of carryover there. So I figured today we'll cover it on a Steam Deck, which is totally unrelated to the fact that I kind of sort of also need to update the ROM to be able to play it on the Vita right now, and my laptop was kind of unplugged, so it's taking a little bit of a second to go and come back to dusty life with the all of no use that it regularly gets. Literally, I went and activated UMD Gen to get the thing kind of up and patched something like 10 minutes ago, and it's still struggling to do that, so it's trying. It'll be back at some point. But yeah, the patch notes on this one are actually pretty extensive, so we'll get to that in a little bit of a second here. But yeah, for those folks that were wondering if it plays on a Steam Deck, it plays beautifully on a Steam Deck. The only issue that comes with playing it on a deck to any degree, because obviously you do get way better visuals here, is actually going to come from the fact that there is, I don't know if you can see the mouse here, but on the bottom right, kind of around here-ish, you will get a little purple square that flickers every now and then whenever you're kind of transitioning between zones. As far as I'm aware, nobody's ever figured out a way to actually make that go away. No clue why. It wasn't always there. Actually, originally, it used to just be this weird flicker over some text. Over time, that transformed into just a square on the bottom right. Couldn't tell you why. I don't know if there's even any theories as to why, but either way, that is just sort of a thing that's out there. So, with that all being said, let's see. Is this up and going? It looks like we have at least one people's here, so we'll be kind of getting proper started on reading all of the patch notes and stuff here pretty soonish. But yeah, this is exciting because this patch has been one that I've been waiting for a little bit of a while here, specifically because I've been wanting to see a little bit of a nerf to the Power Fist of all things, but yeah, it's been nice to see just how many other things ended up coming out of this, because it's let's see, it looks like a 3-pager this time around as far as our patch notes go. So you love to see it, and let me go ahead and pop this sucker over here. Here, let's see, how do I change the view mode here? Let's move this one over here. Because yeah, as you'll notice from the thumbnail, there's actually quite a few new features to this one. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So first and foremost, going over the general section, bear in mind, if you haven't been around for one of these patch note streams before, the way that he formats these things, oftentimes it'll say something along the lines of like, oh, X, Y, or Z thing was removed, only to then explain in the next section how it was then re-implemented in some other ways. So if at any point you hear, X, Y, or Z thing is removed, give it a sec. We'll get to how, whatever is actually missing there in a bit of a moment. Hang on, the thing in the background here just managed to load. Good job, old as hell laptop. You got this. You can manage to patch One Vision onto the Vita at some point. Okay, so first thing on the list here, the accuracy system has been rebalanced for more baseline consistency and consolidated to make room for more formula types. And this is going to be an exciting one for anyone that got really excited last time around, because more formula types means that there's more ways for stuff to potentially scale in fun and interesting ways, which we'll see a good bit of in this patch. Like, for example, in the last patch, we ended up getting things like weapons that could attack with mental stats. We got things like shield scaling with your armor rating and stuff like that. So more accuracy, more stats, more good stuff. Basically, just means that the stats matter more. All right, next. Minimum attack hit chance from the front is now 20% instead of 25%, and from the back, it's 60% instead of 55%. This will make character positioning and facing more important when using high dodge units or fighting them. Indirectly, it's also a buff to feint, aka back attack, aka trajectory. It doesn't mention that particular part, but yeah, trajectory is usually where you get feint from. But yeah, basically this means that your accuracy from the front is lower, your accuracy from the back is higher, which we haven't seen those numbers moved at any point before, so that is a completely fresh thing. So we'll see how that ends up playing out. I feel like it'll be pretty darn useful. Hopefully, maybe nerf some of those high evasion spawns in the post game there. Alright, so as with the damage formula, scaling for base stats and gear bonuses is now equal, so there are no hidden bonuses and penalties anymore. So apparently he's finally eliminated all of those, so we should be all good to go there. This also means that avoidance values on shields aren't adding more evasion per point anymore. Instead, the avoidance values they come with are higher. Also, attack accuracy now scales as follows. So weapon attacks, melee and ranged, are 1.2 accuracy per point of agility, 0.6 per point of dex. Unarmed attacks get their own formula, so melee and ranged. This will be 1.2 accuracy per point of agility, 1 per point of dex, and then guaranteed hit, which will ignore evasion, so it will be 100% at all times. Also, one more thing I should probably mention, because again, it comes up seemingly every one of these patch note things, is when it comes to the mod. I did not make the thing. I am reading the patch notes. I am just a gigantic fan of this thing. Okay, next. Attack evasion now scales 1.2 per point of avoidance, 0.6 per point of dexterity. Weapon skills are now adding 8% accuracy per rank instead of 10%. I'm not entirely sure why that's that big of a deal, but apparently it was necessary. Having an unarmed formula for melee and ranged means that innate attacks will naturally be more accurate, so there's no need for monsters to have much higher agility values anymore. This is a class change, so there will be no difference in recruited monster base character stats. In this patch in general, it seems like there are not going to be any differences whatsoever for existing save files, so if you are wondering whether it's safe to update, yes, you are completely safe to update. You're pretty much always safe to update. In the last 10 years or so, there have maybe been 2 patches that needed an actual restart. Anyway, quick little coffee sip here, because it is rather late. Alright. Next, we get into the reworks for buffs and debuffs, which were pretty interesting. So True Strike and True Flight effects have been merged into Precision, which adds 30% accuracy to both melee and ranged. False Strike and False Flight effects have been merged into Blind, which reduces melee and ranged accuracy by 40%. Dodge and Sidestep effects have been merged into Dodge, which adds 30% evasion to both melee and ranged. So you can finally make all those jokes of, oh, why didn't you dodge when they didn't dodge an arrow? And yes, that's right, Genity, you do need to go update immediately. Go and pop that sucker in right now. And yes, good evening. I hope you're having a fantastic one. Stagger and Misstep effects have been merged into Stagger, which reduces melee and ranged evasion by 40%. So as you can already kind of get here, there's actually certain things that are getting merged together, but all of those will also be then expanded into something else, as is pretty usual with One Vision, where you get stuff that was fairly redundant and or potentially a little bit... a little bit dry by one means or another, and then something cooler gets put in its place. Okay, spell accuracy now scales as follows, and there's a hell of a lot of numbers, but here's the general cliff note. So projectile, 1.2 accuracy per point of mind, intelligence and agility, so basically mind, int, and agility type attacks, evaded with avoidance and mind. They will now have the same minimum accuracy from the front, side, and back as regular attacks. So basically projectile spells are going to be kind of like magical melee attacks, more or less, but uses both mental stats as well as your speed, and then is avoided with your speed and mind. So, makes sense. Next is default status, so 1.2 accuracy per point of mind, and intelligence, so standard mind and intelligence attack scaling, evaded with mind and avoidance. This is going to be used for most elemental debuffs. And that's actually the interesting thing. Light and dark are actually going to be sort of split off into their own thing a little bit, from what I can tell, which is pretty cool. Okay, next, the illusion spells. So 1.2 accuracy per point of mind and intelligence, so it's mind intelligence versus also mind and intelligence. This formula tends to work better on fighters, especially evasive ones. It's used by illusion spells, mostly light and dark, and that's pretty cool, because one of the big things that was happening up to this point is that a super high avoidance unit, while they were obviously playing it relatively risky with low armor, oftentimes could become near immune to a lot of debuffs. So we should see more stuff hitting them now, since oftentimes they will be sacrificing mind for that purpose. However, we still will see tricky sorts being able to avoid this pretty well, I figure. Seeing as, let's say they come in with stuff like Spell Strike Daggers, they will still be getting those mind bonuses, which could be kind of interesting. It should lead to a lot of interesting kind of defensive speed builds. Okay, next is Sign status. So this is Mind and Intelligence, as well as Dexterity going against Mind, Intelligence, and Avoidance. This formula has a higher caster advantage, mostly used for ninjutsu and some special spells or skills. So, not entirely sure why it's called Sign for that particular one. I don't know how this works in with all the Witcher stuff, but whatever. And then finally is Gaze. So that's 1.2 accuracy per point of mind and intelligence. So it's mind intelligence versus avoidance, mind, and intelligence, and this is basically like line of sight type abilities. So this formula has a higher caster advantage, however, its accuracy is a lot lower from the sides and can't hit from the back. So again, he's bringing back more line of sight stuff from before, so that's pretty cool. And actually, the way that these were brought back is pretty neat as well. Also, while we're moving on to the next paragraph, sorry, just downloading the patch so that I could put it on the Vita here in the background so that we could switch over to that at some point. But okay. Okay, if this thing could lag a little bit less, that would be great. Yeah, sorry, this is basically like a Chromebook from a decade ago, so it's not exactly the most springy of chickens, as it were. Okie doke. Now, let's continue on. So there are... okay, so Spell Strike now adds 30% spell accuracy. Spell Slip will reduce it by 40%, and I like that the sort of debuff versions actually overwrite the offensive versions. It's pretty cool to see that they actually do more. Next, there are two effects that will affect Spell Evasion. Ward adds 30% Spell Evasion. Daze will reduce it by 40%. So now, again, certain debuffs got merged together and got replaced with different ones. So instead of worrying about, oh, is this going to make my physical accuracy or my ranged accuracy better, it just makes your accuracy better. However, we also have things like, you know, buffs for spell evasion and such. So that's pretty cool there. So, so again, Ward will add 30% spell evasion, Daze will reduce it by 40%. By default, those will use sidestep and misstep icons, but they will get their own icons in the HD pack. Now, I checked the HD pack, that doesn't seem to have gotten updated as of yet, I don't think. So, yeah, unless I'm missing something, it sounds like that's a kind of down-the-road kind of thing. But either way, same icons, different stuff. Now, let's go ahead and move on. I don't know if that... like, it will use those icons. I don't know if the wording will be different, though. Because I think they can't change the wording. I don't actually know. I guess we'll find out. Alright, so Stun will now reduce melee, range, and projectile spell evasion by the same amount, 20%. Leaden will now reduce melee, range, and projectile spell evasion by the same amount, 30%. So Leaden is still going to be better for avoidance type stuff, but it's interesting to see that Stun will also prevent somebody from dodging a bit. Paranoia will now increase the target's melee, range, and projectile spell evasion by 30% due to being more cautious. However, it will reduce evasion versus all other spells by 30% due to reduced mental stability, which is pretty cool. You don't see Paranoia that often, but it's cool that it's there. And it sounds like it will actually see a little bit more use in a bit of a moment here. Alright, spell damage now scales at 1.2 spell power per point of intelligence and 0.8 per mind, versus 1 resilient point, 1 resilience per point of resistance and 0.4 per point of mind. So, yeah, int and mind versus res and mind. The baseline difference is same as before, but scaling per stat is a bit lower, which should somewhat reduce the difference between high and mid stat casters, and resilience between various targets. So that should hopefully give a little bit of a... It sounds like it's attempting to buff some of those casters that maybe fell by the wayside a little bit, things like matriarchs and whatnot in some cases. I guess we'll see. guess we'll see. Because yeah, I know when I first brought in the matriarch to the team, they were doing really, really well, and then suddenly, like, just completely blown away by the special casters in the late game. But again, we'll sort of see how this all ends up playing out. Alright, next is the equipment section. So the amount of stat bonuses on gear has been adjusted because of accuracy formula changes. Chance for slow has been increased to similar values as stun on most weapons. The Legion Waster is now a rapier type, which is pretty cool actually. Basically means that instead of getting counterattack, they should be able to plink from a distance, as is, you know, the way with the Stinky set. Alright, the God Hand. This is actually pretty interesting because the God Hand is kind of a unique weapon. So God Hand now uses the unarmed accuracy formula. For those that haven't used it before, the God Hand is kind of an iffy weapon in the hands of most fist weapon users. In the hands of the Sacred Fist, though, yeah, the thing's amazing. Anyway, Quarterstaff side grade now has 1 to 2 range up to the first target, same as rapiers. So basically, if you liked the poles from Final Fantasy Tactics, they're back. Next, Whips and Vritra sidearm now inflict blind. Vritra now has a fire element, which is kind of interesting. A little bit random. I'm not sure why that suddenly got a fire element. Like, it already kind of had its own stuff going, but whatever. It's fire now, I guess. Alright. Soul Reaver and Astral Cord. So those are the kind of cursed weapons, as I guess Reborn folks will know them. Oh, let's see. Oh boy, with all these changes from this update, do I need to begin another playthrough? Nope, we already answered that question. You're all good to just update and keep on going. There's nothing that's really going to affect your playthrough. You're just going to get new features. Anyway. Soul Reaver and Astral Cord now have negative weight to reduce the RT cost of the resulting weapon and give people a hint that it matters. So for those that don't know, always give a Void Ring to whoever you're using the Soul Reaver or Astral Cord on. They are now two-handed and have large stat penalties to prevent them from being exploited as a weight reduction stat stick. Snapped weapons are still one-handed though. So basically it's just going all in for letting you know, hey guys, just equip them with this weapon and a Void Ring, and there you go. That's how you make your unique sword or a spear there. Astra Crossbow now drops from the Lamia Rogue and San Bronza. Now, what is the Astra Crossbow? I think it was craftable before, maybe? Let's go take a little bit of a look at that thing. It's got to be somewhere. Who's doing what here? Alright. Who has crossbows on this team? Just so you know, this team right now, this is just kind of a save, test save, more or less. Some stuff will not necessarily make sense. Like, for example, when I was going and attempting to initially remake the Triangle Strategy people here for the multiplayer mode, and then, like, 3 updates happened back-to-back, and then none of their builds made sense anymore. So that was dropped pretty much immediately. Alright, you're using crossbows. Let's see. What is this Astra thingy? Where is Astra? Because all weapons should be on this one. Here, Astra is this one. Okay. All well and good, I guess. So basically, Tier 2 Divine Crossbow. I guess it's just sort of there now. Sure, why not? So yeah, drops from Lamia Rogue and San Bronza, Tower of Law Eternal number 6. Maybe it just wasn't there before or something. Chance for Hobble on throwing spears has been increased to the same value as on one-handed spears, so that's pretty good. It was already pretty legit. Like, honestly, throwing spears are pretty awesome just for the range. I would have, if anything, I would have liked them to see a little bit better penetration, maybe lower bonus or something. But honestly, they were already pretty good just on range alone. The Vulcanheim has 1 less range and reptile racial bonus instead of human. So that is going to be... Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at that sucker over here. So that's this guy right here. So slow. Huh? Wait a minute. Did something go wrong with the update? Because that is supposed to have a different bonus. Although it... Okay, that's weird. Huh. That is very weird. Okay, for some reason it partially updated, partially didn't. Because yeah, Soul Reaver... as we can see here, this is properly updated to match this whole thing. Like, equipping the Soul Reaver completely destroys your character. But at the same time, what on earth happened with the Vulcanheim? Weird. Yeah, so this is supposed to have a reptile bonus. Apparently it got a beast bonus instead temporarily. Whatever. Anyway, one of those is a typo. Honestly, kind of whatever on that anyways. So, let's see. Added Alexander a one-handed light element fusel with a focus scaling and undead slayer bonus that exercises undead on kill, dropped by female Nephilim in San Bronze of Floating Ruins number 3. So that is one of the other just like really cool weapons that got added in this particular patch. So here, let's go ahead and switch you over to that one right now. So basically, this thing is a anti-undead gun. So you get it in San Bronze. It's one-handed. It's a typical handgun, basically a gold-plated deagle that exercises undead, more or less. I know that there was a limited number of icons to choose from, but I choose to believe it's like that weirdly egregious, like friggin' gold deagle from COD or something. Or not COD, but from CS:GO or something. Anyways. So yeah, this thing's actually unique in that it actually casts Exercise on hit. So yeah, it will instantly kill any undead that it finishes off. And it's already pretty darn legit to begin with. +3 Thanatology is just kind of fucky, and it's also hilarious. Because if you use this on a priest, which will become relevant in a little bit of a moment, if you use this on a priest, this actually can also be combined with a Thanatology spellbook, which means that you can live the dream of rebuilding a certain priest guy here. So there's that, which Mr. Donnie over here can actually become a priest at this point. So that's going to be later in the patch notes, but we're just going to go ahead and set this up here because it's awesome. All right. So, first hand over here gets the Biblion Thanatos, so we get our Thanatology, we get our Alexander here. And this basically means this dude's running a +6 Ghost Go Bye-Bye pretty much immediately. So, whenever you decide to go train that up even harder, it's pretty darn good stuff. Okay, there we go. Friggin' rank 7, never having even used the thing before. Beautiful. Absolute thing of beauty over there. Hi there, Mr. Procow. How's it going? Hope you're having a good one continuously here. Which actually, between the two of these... yeah, honestly, this is fine. But yeah, it's kind of implied that you're meant to use a... sort of what is effectively a Bible and a gun at the same time on a priest, and that's pretty hilarious. Anyway, let's move on. So, where were we? Right, the Alexander, we already covered that. Okay, innate attacks now use the unarmed accuracy formula, as you'd kind of expect. Bane and Malediction have 1 extra range. No kidding, I thought Bane was already pretty OP, but alright, whatever. Gets 1 extra range, apparently. Shield Bash also uses the unarmed accuracy formula. Does that mean they can miss now? I don't know. There's the one I was looking forward to. Power Fist attack was higher than it should be, so it has been corrected. We'll see to what extent that is corrected in a little bit of a moment. Spell Shields now have 2 uses of Spell Strike, so that's pretty good. Gives them a little bit more utility there. Yeah, Spell Shields have been in a little bit of a weird spot. Like, they've always been a little bit niche, but they've been in a little bit of a funny spot there. Alright, shields have higher evasion values to compensate for equalized scaling across gear pieces. Next, okay, this next accessory is one that I've actually seen discussed a decent bit because, like, there's been a question over whether it should be made or shouldn't be made for months at this point, and that's this guy right here, so the Mantis Earring. So, negative 120 luck, 30 avoidance, 40 health, +2 parry. Very, very weird type of thing, and I feel like this could actually be potentially less, while it is intended to be a kind of dual-wielding gimmick tool, I feel like it could potentially be cheesed with high luck equipment for the purpose of giving you a really good parry build, but we'll get to that in a bit of a second here. Anyways, as always, lots of potential options. Also, let's see, the gods created man, Donalto made them equal. Fair enough. Okay. Hold on. I am trying to use the buttons to scroll through a PDF that's currently in the background here. Alright, so Mantis Earring, an earring with a large luck penalty intended to reduce crit chance when dual wielding. Lowering luck also greatly increases the chance for the user to get crit, so the earring provides some defensive bonuses to compensate, crafted with Ways of the Wild. So yeah. And for those unfamiliar with this, because it is a very kind of weird situation as far as luck goes, so the question on luck has been argued again for months at this point, because it's a very weird interaction as far as luck is concerned, because after it goes like below a certain threshold, numbers just start to mean nothing. So it's just like, oh, 20% chance to parry. I think you mean like 130% chance to parry. What are you talking about? Suddenly it gets to the point that there's just nothing but crits all the time. There's just nothing but parries all the time. Like, it just gets to the point that it's almost like the numbers are flipped, is more or less what it feels like. So the way that I feel with this particular thing, while it is potentially very good for dual wield builds, sure, I feel like if you were to, let's say, combine this with like a dagger and pistol, and then potentially run parry along with proper parry equipment and whatnot, just use the pistol to overcome some of that luck, you still have a little bit lower luck, but like a little bit less insane here. I forget what else you could actually throw in there, because most of the luck bonuses are in the accessory slot at this point. But I don't know. But either way, great tool, all things considered. Let's go ahead and move on here. Next, as far as class updates, wizards can now use instruments. So if you didn't have enough instrument users, now you have even more instrument users. Rogue can now transfer the instrument skill, giving you more opportunities to train the skill early. Teach everyone to go use their various tiny guitars, from your ukuleles to your balalikas, or however you pronounce those. And yeah. Which, speaking of, I don't know. That's always been one of those weird things that, like, of all of the old references to whatever else, I've always kind of wondered how it is that One Vision never changed one of the instruments to one of those balalaika things, because every time that I hear Winds of Change by the Scorpions, I'm like, I want to be able to hit something with that, which is completely missing the point of that song, but I don't know, it's just a fun word to say. Let's see, can Felicia change to priest as well? No, Felicia is your early game ninja, basically just, like, she is a ninja hiding as a priest, is her whole thing. Well, I guess we can go ahead and double check at some point. I don't think she gets any unique stuff, class-wise. Maybe. We'll check that in a little bit of a moment. Currently, so if we're going to be testing this on a million cheats activated test save file, we'll want to do that on the Vita here, because I don't want to turn off all those cheats because of that other run that's going on. So I have it currently patching this onto the Vita in the background, which is going to take a little bit of a second here. But as soon as that's done, we'll be able to play around with that a little bit. Let me actually go over to that real quick, just to get that rolling. Where do we even have downloads on this? Sorry, this old laptop is really buggy. So there's a lot of weirdness to the way that it behaves. So, like, currently, one of the issues that it's having is that I can't get to a lot of the directories on it, because it just insists that, like, the download section just doesn't exist anymore. Anyway, let's go ahead and continue reading about classes while it pretends to load for the next hour. Lich can now use minor buffs, so we'll see how that ends up looking. Actually, let's go ahead and take a look at the Lich spell axis, see what that's feeling like. Where do we have a Lich here? Deneb, you look like somebody that could be a Lich or something. Let's go ahead and turn you into one of them. Again, million cheats activated, as you do. Where's the Lich? Why am I forgetting what the Lich looks like? There we go. Alright, can you use the Mantis earring on glass cannon caster builds if you're gonna get one shot anyhow? I mean, yeah. Trying to figure why you would off the top of my head, but yes. Okay. So, let's go ahead and see what they can learn at this point. So what kind of minor stuff are we talking here? Oh yeah, by the way, Nightmare's back. If you love the SNES version, Nightmare is back. So you love to see it. But I guess, yeah, things like Wormhole, Dead Scream, I forget if they could use those before. I guess they couldn't. Honestly, I don't know, because I mostly use my Lich for just absolutely thunder-dunking things, so there's that. Like, okay, for anyone that's never used a Lich in One Division, the reason that I'm talking about them dunking on things is because of Mind Blast. So, like, Mind Blast is more or less a sort of follow-up missile attack, more or less, that avoids anything in the way. So what you can usually do is just have them teleport forward, because they teleport innately. You generate a little bit of MP, you Mind Blast something backwards, and then finish it off with a missile spell. So oftentimes that double tap from stuff can just take something from 100% to dead pretty much immediately. They are some of the most glass cannons that exist, but that combo feels very vicious. So as far as vicious spellcasters go, they're just really fun to use. But yeah, could you use this on a glass cannon caster build? You know, let's go ahead and play around with that a little bit, see what that looks like. So let's say we got all our Mind Blasts going, whatever else. She's got her other spells going. I'll probably throw a staff in there, because of course, if you're gonna nuke, at least nuke it right. Okay, we got that. We got the gloves for that. We've got this over here. Go even harder on full offense, I guess, by just going for... I mean, hell, that barely even seems worth it, to be honest. Okay, so, got our seals, got our spells, got our everything. Now, would we give up that 20 int for one of these here? Let's see. Is there any situation that would want to give all that up for a Mantis, of all things? Let's see. Also, that looks like that's what happened to the old warrior band. Cool. Now, does this help at all? Because we're basically sacrificing a pretty decent chunk of offense. I mean, they are going to get one-shot anyway, sure. That is a good bit of health. That's like heavy armor levels of extra health. Extra parry's good. Let's see. See, I figure for a skirmisher or somebody, like, if we're talking about, like, anything besides dual-wield builds, I figure somebody with a skirmisher or something like that, that actually can still get some benefit out of critting and also has a melee weapon to parry, might benefit from this a lot more. Because, like, in the case of a glass cannon, that 20 int might really be the difference between them one-shotting something and not, so it feels like it'd be a lot more risky for them to run this, even with the better defensive bonuses. Like, obviously it would help them out defensively, but, like, it feels like it makes them even more susceptible to archers, which they already regularly get dunked on by archers, so... it feels like it expands their weaknesses without necessarily giving them much extra. Considering also that the bonus that it gives is just a parry, not to deflect, so... they would have to be getting, like, way up into melee range. I mean... Actually, wait a minute. That actually could be really cool. Hold on. We sacrifice the casting staff at that point. We go for more of a beating stick. So... let's see. Lipples is apparently going to be doing one of those. Actually, Lipples has decoy at this point? Huh, cool. Okay, so let's say we do something like this. I mean, I would like to see a bit more in terms of parry there. Can these guys even use parry now that I think about it? Here, hold on. Get rid of magic time. Do you get parry? I don't think they get parry. Hold on. No, they wouldn't be getting parry. So let's go ahead and see who does get parry. Alright, so, who could benefit a ton from this? Again, aside from dual wielders, I could see Mantis potentially being really good on, like, let's say, an Angel, if we run, assuming that they can run staff on there. Obviously, they get plenty of mind bonuses from this other stuff. There's a good bit of carryover between mind bonuses and parry bonuses. Goes pretty well with all of the dances that they're using, high amount of parry, decent amount of bulk to the point that they can probably afford to take a few crits. You can see that working well on Angels. I mean, obviously dual wielders, of course. Maybe Terranites, too. because, again, can equip heavy armor, can go do staves, can do light helmets. That's a lot of parry bonuses. I don't know. It's a very interesting item, though, so it feels like there's a lot of kind of building potential there. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on real quick here, kind of see what else we've got in store. Since there's a lot to go through still. So, yeah, Lich is going to use minor debuffs, so we discussed that. Paladins got access to two-handed swords, axes, hammers, and staves, so if you want to skip their unique weapon arts, you can. I'm not entirely sure why you would, but alrighty, I guess it's an option. Alright, monster classes and Sacred Fist now have normal agility because of the new unarmed accuracy formula scales more favorably. Tiamat can use Shadowfax. That's pretty cool. They get an unavoidable dragon breath, or just kind of dark breath thing. Dark status spells now had to be redistributed for all classes with access to them. It changed too much to be listed here, so it'll have to be checked in the in-game or on the website. So that's... You rarely see that Rakes doesn't want to list stuff. Like, that is a lot of changes. Okay, next for spells and abilities, which we'll double-check what happened with all those abilities in a bit of a moment. So most spells got a bit more extra damage combined with the formula adjustment. It should result in more consistent damage output across different casters and targets. Element Aversion now reduces resistance by 30% instead of 40%. Rotating Aversion should still be a worthwhile bonus, but with more reliable spell damage it should feel less required in order to deal damage to resistant targets. So we're seeing spells in general getting buffed, the Averse bonus getting reduced by 10%, which is fair because yeah, you could really drill by going for a couple of those tag team bonuses. Projectiles 2 and 3 got 1 extra range. Love that. Because, yeah, Projectile 2 is... It needed something, and I mean, that'll definitely do the job. Forbidden Magic always hits now. The accuracy formula it previously used was so favorable that it would require quite an extensive extreme scenario to have a chance of missing, so this is just making it official. Elemental spells are all using the default status formula. Sky Pillar has been renamed to Sky Burial because that's a thing. Winged folk probably do it because it just makes sense, and don't quote me on it. It's an area spell that inflicts blind and rupture. I wonder if it still does the percentage thing. Does it? Let's go ahead and see. Alright, so Sky Burial. Bind Rupture in an area... Okay, so I don't know if it still does its 30% thing. I guess not. I don't know. Alright, let's move on. We'll find out more of that as we get the other thing going here. Alright, where were we? Oh yeah, Mute is now a single target. It's rare to hit multiple casters anyway. And it uses the Gaze status formula. It should now be easier to mute casters, as this formula is favorable to the caster, and they should usually face the front. So that's cool. Mute was always a little bit iffy to actually land, so if it's single target and far more accurate if you're facing them, that's pretty cool. Presumably they're doing that whole, like, shushing with a finger thing, and it just magically shuts somebody's face like it's the Matrix. Cool. Okay, Oblivion uses the Illusion status formula. So yeah, we got Oblivion and Nightmare back. Tirana uses the Sign formula. As far as all those formulas go, those were all listed earlier. It's just basically different types of stats being used to hit or defend against various different types of different things, because the formula got tweaked so that all of these things make more logical sense in-game and whatnot. Alright, Dark Magic doesn't have weaker copies of elemental status effect spells anymore, and now has 3 separate groups of minor and major spells. The main group is Abyss and Wormhole, which will use the default formula and work on Undead. The secondary group are Charm and Gaze, which are both Illusion, and the third group... Charm and Dead Scream. Charm will be based off of Line of Sight. Dead Scream will be based off of Illusion. So basically, Gaze is again visual range. Illusion will be like mental stats versus mental stats. So like, how much are you able to overwhelm the other person's mind? Again, I love that as a concept. So we'll see how it plays. And the third group are single target damage spells with a fixed status percentage, Decay and Nightmare. Everything else was scrapped. So I guess Decay is kind of taking over the old role that Sky Pillar had. Alright. Abyss now deals 25% of current HP, inflicts hobble, and delays recovery time by 40 to 60. Damn. Well, that thing's going to be a pretty good tank breaker, I can tell you that. Wormhole has 1 extra range and costs 10 more recovery time. Oh wait, that was weird. Don't you ever have those moments where you just like cough and hiccup at the same time? Okay, Charm has 1 extra range, uses the new Gaze formula, and its cost has been lowered to 20 MP and 30 recovery time. Fair enough. You're once again charming them with your eyes like you did in the PSP version. It's kind of cool to see that coming back, actually. I like that that's getting reused again. It was always a bit janky, and it's kind of cool that it's at least there. It's coming back in a more refined form, so to speak. Dead Scream has increased to 30 MP and 50 recovery time. It got 1 extra range and now affects an area. I was gonna say, funnily enough, I completely forgot because I was tired the other day. I was gonna say it seems like Dead Scream is just sort of quietly sitting there, not really doing very much for a while now. So it's cool to see that getting buffed. Decay costs 30 MP and 40 recovery time, got 1 extra range. Wait, Decay got buffed? What? It deals similar damage to the first tier of area spells and has a fixed 60% chance to inflict poison and weaken. Okay, so it lost its breach. Nightmare is a return of the SNES fan favorite. It deals similar damage to tier 2 area spells and has a fixed 50% chance to inflict sleep. Nightmare returns! Actually, wait a minute, where's a... Did he say Oblivion earlier on accident, or... No, I think... Never mind, Oblivion's that one other thing. I'm getting mixed up, sorry. I think it was in one of the Ogre battles that Oblivion and Nightmare were basically the same thing. Tired brain is gonna tired brain. Sorry about that. Moving on. Where were we? Draconic spells now use the projectile spell damage formula, so again, it'll check for evasion and stuff. Acrobatics was renamed to Discipline, and now grants precision and dodge, which affects accuracy and evasion for both melee and ranged. Ballistics was replaced by Blasphemy. It grants Spell Strike and Ward, which affects spell accuracy and evasion. And actually, man, those Draconic spells actually just went from like, yeah, I guess they're there, to being really good all of a sudden with this new merger. Miasma now uses the Sign formula. Necromancy status spells use the Illusion formula, except for Tainted Love, which uses Gaze. Okay, that's cool. So Necromancy is all about overwhelming the mind. Baron Soul used the projectile formula, makes sense, it's basically Draconics. Shadowbind and Deadlock will use Sign, offensive war dances will use Gaze, so yeah, all of your war dances are based off of line of sight, which is cool. Actually, wait a minute, oh man, he set this up! He set this up a while ago! Limelight causes all the units around you to turn around and face you. So this means that the songstress got indirectly buffed real hard with this accuracy change. That's awesome. That's a really good change. Okay, here let me go ahead and double check on my kind of background thingy here. See if let's see. You're over here. You go over here. Okay, and it will now pretend to load UMD Gen for another 15 or so minutes. See, how do I update since I play on a mobile device? If you did the folder method, like you've been recommended to do, you simply download the update and throw it into the game file, and you're done. Like, that's it. Okay. What's next? So yeah, offensive war dances will use the Gaze formula. Songs now use the Illusion formula, except for Secret of Mana, which uses the Sign formula. Interesting. Windshot now uses the Ranged Unarmed Accuracy formula. Alright, cool. Fair enough, I guess he's just like kind of like punching through everyone. Shell Bust now uses the Sign formula. I guess we'll see how that goes. I wonder if that'll make it not 100% almost all the time. Storm Rider's Stun effect now uses the default formula. Sun Blossom Finisher now inflicts blind. We've already more or less covered that. Hopongo Winds now grants dodge instead of sidestep. So yeah, Hopongo got even better. Touch activates like Iron Maiden, Fell Seal, and Conviction will now use the Sign formula. I feel like... I wonder how much this will help Fell Seal, because it was already really strong. I actually completely underestimated how good Felseal was when I was doing the video on the Priest, so probably going to do a redo of that at some point. Stormbrand and Righteous Fire now use the sign formula. Eagle Eye now grants Precision, which affects both melee and ranged accuracy. Vigorous Attack has been renamed to Vanguard. It now grants only Dodge, which affects both melee and ranged evasion. Interesting. Okay, so yeah, your Archer now gives you more accuracy. Your Warrior now gives you more defense. So, cool. Mind's Eye now grants dodge instead of sidestep. Healing Strike now uses the melee unarmed accuracy formula. Beckon now uses the illusion formula. That should be a pretty strong buff to Beckon, actually. Last Resort. Oh yeah, this was actually another cool change. So Last Resort cost has been lowered to 20 TP and 15 recovery time. This is going to be an indirect buff to the AI, by the way. But the HP cost is now 10% of current HP, and it grants Pain Aura until the next turn. So that move is less costly and potentially more rewarding, but also more risky to use. Now, subtext of all of this stuff. Basically, Last Resort before used to drain a huge chunk of the unit's HP in order to give them a bunch of TP. The thing is, the AI is limited to using that move at the very end of their turn, which means that oftentimes they would drain a huge chunk of their health bar and just basically let themselves die for no reason. So what this does is it changes it so they only lose 10% of their health. That Pain Aura basically causes them to take additional extra damage, but also gives them a little bit of reflection, I think it was. But yeah, basically it just means that they'll be able to potentially actually get some use out of it when they're using it. Let's see, think of picking up the game back up again. Would you recommend the remaster over this for someone who isn't a hardcore player? It depends on how nitty-gritty you want to get. Reborn's got the sort of like overall gameplay flow and story stuff going really well. Like if you're in it for the story and the voice acting and the variable story, which is again incredibly good regardless of what version you play. Like, if that does it more for you, then you'll definitely prefer that one. If you just want to have that experience where you're thinking of weird tricks that you can do with your unit a lot of the time, then potentially One Vision's going to be the one for you to go. So, like, One Vision's more for, like, when you want to really think about the nitty-gritty of your turns. So it's like, okay, if I move this guy over here, and then they put a dodge buff over here, which lets this guy potentially, defend this flank over here, they can buy some time while this other guy with the javelins goes and breaks the legs of that guy over there, preventing him from going over there. Like, that's the sort of One Vision experience of just, like, making your whole team work together at once. Reborn is more emphasis on the interactive story and more of like a speed chess feeling, if that makes sense. So it just kind of depends on what personally appeals to you more. Both ways, you're going to have the same exact story. It's all game mechanics. But yeah, if you're more on the casual side of things, Reborn would usually be the one to go for. Though again, One Vision, despite all of its like complications that we're talking about here, is actually not that complicated to get into. There's just a lot of potential tricks that you can learn. Okay. So, next up on the patch notes, we got Blood Price, which was renamed to Blood Brothers. The skill now needs to target an ally to leech 30% of their current health and charge 1/3 of the amount back to them as TP. This should improve Berserker's survivability, similar to the old risk management, except it's more controllable and the ally gets something in return. I assume they're proud of becoming brothers with a bloodthirsty maniac. Interesting. Okay, but yeah, in general, it sounds like Berserker should be less suicidal, so that's something. Turn Undead TP cost has been lowered to 50. Good. Because it was already really way too situational, so we'll see. Uses the Gaze formula, and if the enemy is frightened, there's also a 10% chance to instantly get stilled. Holy crap, that got buffed. Okay, that's awesome. That's only 10%, but that's worth spamming. Also, glad to help, Senko. Hope that helps. Entomb uses the sign formula now. Good and good. Pumpkin Strike and Crystal Pumpkin now use the ranged accuracy formula. Alrighty. Angel Knights song specials now use either illusion or sign formula. Makes sense. I wonder what the hell they were using before, because I always assumed that they were using something similar to illusion. Alright, next one is another one of those ones that I really love that I actually thought he wasn't going to do, because I thought it was against what they were going for with the golem, but the anima core now passively increases ranged accuracy as well, so finally your golems can hit stuff with ranged attacks. How about that? So the anima core is actually worth using now. Alright, Mercurial File now grants Precision, Filter of Ashes now grants Wards, Haunt's Tome now inflicts Blind, Skuldust Nostrum now inflicts Daze, Hair of the Unicorn was removed, Cursed Unicorn Blood was removed, Star card now grants Escalade, Moon card now grants Ward, Sun card grants Emblaze, so you actually have Lava Walking available. Added the Nightmare Arcana, it's available in Denim's shop. Added the Blasphemy Arcana, it's available in any shop past Chapter 3. Palsy Skein, Petroburst, Slow, Stasis, Shackle, Fixate, and Ballistics got removed. Donalto will be able to change to Priest when you find the class marks. Folkart's got access to Death Knight. Vice and Zapan got access to Headhunter. So we did see a few new kind of classes getting thrown around. I'm glad to see Vice and Zapan getting Headhunter here, because usually by the time you get Zapan, you already have a Berserker if you plan to use a Berserker. So Headhunter is a pretty legit class for him to use. Basically, it's like a combination of like Berserker and Beastmaster kind of a thing. Folkart, I mean, Death Knight's kind of a random one for him, but you do, if you are going down that route, you do get access to the Death Knight mark. You may not get access to the guy that can become a Death Knight, and you maybe don't want to sacrifice Denim for that, so that works. That's a decent one there. So okay, that is all of the patch notes for 1.10. So it was a big one. It was a pretty friggin' big one. So lots of changes. So okay, class, I'll open it up to questions then. Let me check how this patching is going over here so that we can actually put it onto a legit save file real quick, and kind of see where we're at, see where we're going with all this whole thing. So yeah, we'll go ahead and open up to questions real quick. Let me know if you got anything. Alright, let's see, go over here. Let's go ahead and move this thing over here. This thing goes right here. There we go. See if it actually saves in the right spot this time. Okay. Actually, I will be right back. Hold on. Alrighty, and back. Sorry, I was having a little bit of a weird technical issue with the laptop over here, trying to get everything over to the Vita. But we got a question from, or a message from Wiggum here. Donalto Priest is handy, reduces the opportunity cost of Kasher's class choices. Yeah, she's already absolutely swimming in options, so that's good to see. That's good to see. Also, as of so far, I haven't seen anyone immediately reporting any kind of bizarro issues with this one, so hopefully this patch should be nice and clean. Hopefully it won't require an A, B, and a C patch this time around. I think the last two have actually ended in like just an A or a B variant. I don't think there's been a C in quite a while. But yeah, that's actually one of the other things that whenever it comes to this mod in general, it's just like every one of its patches seemingly just gets more and more refined with with every new version as it comes out. There's like fewer and fewer bizarro bugs. There was one patch I remember that like just having female warriors, so basically Amazons, countering with throwing rocks would crash the game. But again, this was like 7 years ago or something. This was a while ago. Let's see, can Donalto access Death Knight on the neutral route? Started a week ago and wanted to know how improved that route was. Dude, neutral route is great. So yeah, as far as Death Knight goes, Fulkert gets access to Death Knight. Oh yeah, well actually no, Divold. Let's see, where do you get the Death Knight mark at this point? I think he said that... hold on. Right, he doesn't actually join as the Death Knight, does he? Actually, wait, hold on. Last patch notes. Hold on. Death Knight... I feel like... You only get the class mark for a specific mission on Chaos Route, and only Denim can use the class there. But if you have Divold from Neutral Route, he'll be able to and probably hate every minute of it. Huh. I could have sworn that at some point something changed actually... Maybe not. For some reason, I thought that he was going to give Divold access to Death Knight immediately. But yeah, no, I guess it only drops on Chaos. So yeah, if you already have access to it, then you would be able to get it from that route. Otherwise, it is currently locked to Chaos. So as far as neutral goes, though, so on neutral, you have basically the three uniques in the form of Festa, Tammuz, and Chamos. So in their particular case, let's see, Chamos is going to be a unique lizard variant. Basically, I forget what exactly his default thing is here. Let's go ahead and shut these off real quick. I know I'm going to regret this because I'm going to forget which cheats are activated whenever we go back to the Unicorn run. But we'll go ahead and reset the save file here and take a quick peek at that to kind of see what he gets access to. But yeah, no, the neutral trio are fantastic. So, oh, right, it's still going to be active, isn't it? All right, well, hold on. Let's go ahead and exit to menu. Let's go ahead and relaunch it, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, neutral trio are really, really, really good. So I would say, honestly, them by themselves make the neutral route worth it if you're just worrying about recruits. I personally love the absolute tragedy of the route, but again, to each their own. So, let's go ahead and take a little bit of a peek here. So, Tammuz is going to be your first unique heavy flyer. He's basically an orc. He's more or less a unique orc with wings, give or take. So, so Warrior, Archer, Wizard, Spellblade, Terror Knight, Berserker, Rogue, Beast Tamer, Juggernaut, and Patriarch. So, yeah, if you wanted a flying Patriarch, that's pretty darn good. Or, you know, even a flying Juggernaut or what have you. So, Tammuz is always going to be my personal favorite. Chamos is going to be a lizard sort with access to the lady classes, apparently, as well. Wait, Chamos gets Headhunter? Huh. Alright, well, I don't know if that was intentional, but... Or actually, no, maybe that was there before. So, okay, apparently we already had access to a second Headhunter the whole time. So I guess we're up to, what is it, 3 Headhunters at this point? So that's cool. But yeah, like, in Chamos' case, he's a unique kind of combination of Lizard and Lamia here. So we get Warrior, Archer, Wizard, Spellblade, Berserker, Dragoon, Rogue, Juggernaut, Hoplite, Headhunter, Necromancer, Warlock, Beast Tamer, Fusilier, and Patriarch. And then we get Festa, who who basically is going to get access to White Knight. So again, neutral trio, friggin' awesome. They get a lot of goodies. They're going to make up for a lot of the potential stuff that you may be missing on other routes. Again, Chamos alone I thought was good enough, but we get access to all kinds of goodies there. Divold will obviously be able to get access to Terror Knight or Death Knight once you get there, but most of his stuff that he's using as Terror Knight should be able to transfer over conveniently. Let's see, what else are we getting on neutral route? Oh, shoot! Sorry, didn't mean to just blow out everyone's eardrums with that. Sorry, Captain Elrig. I forgot. They actually get the Sacred Fist as well. So that's currently 4 basically complete one-off unique characters in the form of the Sacred Fist, as well as the other kind of unique variants there. But as far as Elrig is concerned, this dude is basically the drunken master, give or take. So like getting abilities like drinking some of the spirits out of your inventory to give himself a speed boost, healing strike, which is more or less a kind of heaven or hell type of move that scales incredibly hard, but if it does anything short of killing something, it just instantly heals them. Stuff like being an unarmed guy, but throwing around Aegises, or throwing around kind of dragon breaths or whatever else. Again, he's just entirely the drunken master kind of sword here. Gets some unique healing abilities like Aura Heal and Spirit Bomb and stuff like that. So, good stuff. It's a really, really good class. All of their tools are pretty much available from the from Wildwood, so yeah, it's really good. So I'd say in general, neutral arguably has some of the best options as far as individual unlocks go. So so there's that. All right. Let's see. Technically speaking, I think this thing in the background should have managed to save this thing that I was trying to do. Where the hell is it saving it to? Why am I getting an issue here? But yeah, glad to help. Alright. Where are you saving this thing to? New patch jobs. Okay, good. Good. Okay, so. Sorry, got my thingy here done. Let me go get the wire over here, and then we can go test some of these things on original hardware just to see if anything ends up crashing or exploding or any of, that kind of stuff. Alright. Let's go ahead and get you fully plugged in over here. There we go. You go about there. You get turned off. Go to library screen. There we go. Alright. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of new building type of options that are going to come out of this one. Just you watch. Alright. Let's get you plugged in here. Sorry for the kind of awkward pause here. Just trying to make sure that I have the right thing getting deleted here. Because if I accidentally delete the wrong thing, that could be a little bit of a problem. Alright, delete you. Alright. Go, hit select. Rename this thing to Fried Chicken 107, and we are in business. Alright. Delete that. One copied file here, one dropped off thing here. And with any luck, once this is done, we should be good to go. Hopefully. Looks like it's going to be a couple of minutes until it finishes loading it over, so we've got this until then. Let's see what else. Did Yunin get anything new? It's kind of a little bit surprising to me that Yunin actually hasn't gotten anything new. I feel like if there's anyone that's kind of screaming for a new class lately, it's probably him. Not that any more classes are really that necessary. Like, there's already so many that it's taken me almost a year to actually test them all out. But it is a little weird that Captain Warcrimes himself hasn't actually gotten any new stuff. Like, I could honestly see Yunin as a commando. Um, like, once you end up getting those commando class marks. Like, it seems like these two would get along, maybe. I don't know. You know, this guy is good at lying to people. This guy's good at lying to himself. So, maybe it would work. I don't know. Okay. Also, is there any limitation, any different limitations on the Alexander compared with the other guns here? No, it just seems like any pistol user is able to use this thing, so no additional limitations on this thing. It is unique, though, and you do got to go through San Bronze to get it, so by the time you get it, it's more or less just a way to absolutely speedrun the bejesus out of Palace of the Dead. So this actually changes routing a little bit. Like, I feel with the with that gun there, it almost feels like it's almost a little bit of a optimal change then to actually do San Bronze before doing Coda 2. So that route actually makes a lot more sense now. In pretty much all previous versions, it usually made more sense to do POTD first. So, like, especially if you go for the old, you know, Bible and a gun thing, the old Texas special, as it were, then you got that there. So that's pretty neat. Now, this thing does also scale light, and light also gets a bonus versus undead on top of, like, basically innate +6 racial bonus versus undead. Like, it's oddly specific of a weapon, but this thing is just straight up designed to be overpowered as far as I can tell. Although 33, that's a pretty meaty requirement. By the time you're getting that far, you certainly don't need this to deal with undead problems, so yeah, fair enough. It's a flex gun. I mean, it's basically a gold-plated deagle. Of course it's a flex gun. That makes sense. That makes sense. But also, I love how it says it's a silver gun. No, that is a gold-plated deagle. I don't know. I don't care what anyone says. I mean, still in the thumbnail for this thing, I put the light shining in the darkness from New Vegas as a reference to basically the same thing. But okay. All right. What else? Okay, so next thing we actually meant to test a little bit was actually going to be that Mantis, which it looks like it's time. The thing is 99% done, and we can switch over to a nice, crisp, basically no resolution. That should be pretty good. Okay, here. Okay, it's done loading. It's done loading. Let me restart it so it doesn't have any weird bugs, and then we should be all set to go. Let me just make sure it launches. Or do I have to remake this icon? Let's see, let's unplug you. Do you launch? Is you launching? 3, 2, yes, it lives. Okay. It lives. Let's go ahead and just double check to make sure that all of the changes actually happened. And then we can switch over to Vita as opposed to Deck. Actually, wait. One more thing I want to double check here. There's no reason that it would have updated. But, let's go ahead and go to sidearms here. I want to see something. Alright, so as far as stagger is concerned, this still shows stagger. Yeah, just avoidance in general reduced. Okay. Oh, by the way, actually one more thing before I forget, because the HD mod makes everything look nicer. There was actually a visual change that happened to the Agnia, which previously uses the same thing that the Alexander uses, so now it uses like a more red variant of that same icon. So I don't know, I thought it looked pretty cool. But that is there now. Alright. Sorry, just loading up the save file in the background, just making sure we're all good to go here. And, are we good? I don't know. Let's see, slash stagger, that's that whole thing. Yep, there we go. Discipline, blasphemy, okay. Yep, we're all good to go. Hopefully there aren't a bunch of removed icons everywhere, but Let me just go ahead and get this thing restarted, and then we can properly kind of take a look at how post-game is looking with all of these new changes. Sorry it took a little bit of a while to get to it, but these things happen sometimes. Okay. Let's pop you up right here. This one can go ahead and get turned off now. Sleep, tiny laptop. You will be needed in time for the next Wind Vision patch. Until then, you just sit here and collect dust. Alright. Reboot device, and we are good to go. I have this old laptop that's basically used for just storage of old devices, or sorry, storage of old data, and updating Wind Vision. I can still do it on the Steam Deck, it's just easier to do on this little laptop. And I have everything just already up, so it's a little bit more convenient. Okay. So we should be up and live at this point. Let's see what OBS is saying about that. You're right here. Okay. Oh, wait, not that one. Though I have to say that was also a really cool thing to see. That DS emulation on the Vita is actually frickin' happening. But let's go ahead and get this sucker rolling, shall we? All right. So now we're back on original hardware. So it didn't immediately crash, so we know we don't have that problem, thankfully. Let's go ahead and get our usual quality of life cheats up and running. And then we'll go from there. Alright, everything on and off. Low-level class XP scaling fix, enemy pickups go to player, and we are good. Alright, so how's everyone's evening going? Since we've basically been reading patch notes for the last hour. How's everyone feeling? Are y'all having a at least decent week? I mean, we're kind of towards the middle of it at this point. But, how's everyone feeling? How's everyone holding up? Alright. So we are nearly 7,000 days into this particular campaign, and it just keeps on going. Let's go to Tynemouth Hill. See if any of our people changed at all. Yeah, you're still looking normal. You're still looking like you got your whole Dragon Slayer set going on. Anything new with you? We got the old Hobble effect, which ended up getting buffed, so that's good to see. Let's see, Songstress got indirectly buffed, so that's probably good to see. I do want to get the Dragonborn class up and running, though. Let's see, we're on Law Route, so this is going to be that one where we just basically hunt down a bunch of priests. So, to that end, I kind of want to test the Anima Core thing. Let's go see how that's looking these days. Replace Hardcore with Anima Core, just increases accuracy across the board. I must wonder if that's kind of how this whole patch ended up getting started in the first place. Let's see, you're still good as you are. I want some draconic users though. Alright, let's see here. Anything we want to replace with draconics for you? Maybe Day of Reckoning, because I have not been using that whatsoever. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this started, see what it looks like. Actually, wait a minute, hold on, we need to replace this music with something. 7,000 day campaign, Lotus took over when Brandon died of old age. Yeah, I know, right? But yeah, dude, I wanted to test everything. I wanted to be thorough. So, it is how it is. Alright, let's go ahead and use this one then for the purpose of music. Unless we want some other soundtrack going, but we'll use this for music in the background. Alright. Where music at? You're over here. There we go. And I guarantee you somebody's going to pop into the comments. You're like, oh god, I can't believe that they changed the placement of the music. Immersion. It's like, I'm just playing music in the background, dude. I can't find the aux cord to make the audio go up on this thing right now. I would if I had it, but I don't. Who's that red priest in your army? So that is just a generic priest that I made. So if you see any units that are just kind of like weird miscolorations of different stuff, bear in mind for the purposes of testing, I just use the kind of any unit, any class cheat to make a generic version of several classes that were for characters that I just didn't have on this particular playthrough. Again, my purpose was to go and test things, so I, wanted to test things rather than trying to hunt down each and every individual character over the course of the next freaking decade. So yeah, I didn't want to do like 84 playthroughs for the purpose of one test save. So occasionally you will see generic stuff, like we have a generic Dragonborn over there in the form of the unit that used to be a Necromancer on the team. Eventually I'll probably get rid of one of the Beast units on the team for the purpose of getting Vice, so that we can get Ranger and then finally evaluate that class to see if it's changed at all since previous patches. Oh, we get to see the minimum hit odds. We actually got to see it. I'm way too excited about that. But evasion builds got buffed from the front and debuffed for the purpose of anything that affects their evasion at all. And stun also affects evasion. Everything affects everything. It's great. And in fact, actually, stun arrows got indirectly buffed, though. But then again, stun arrows were already the better arrows, at least in my personal opinion. But Alright, anyways, we'll get to see how much better these spells are at this point. We'll go ahead and see if the Matriarch is able to keep up with everybody else. And there's that. Also, we'll see if how the Terranite ends up performing here. There wasn't really anything that directly affected him, but I guess we'll see. Go ahead and throw our Golem in the way of Mr. Dude Man. See how his ranged accuracy is looking these days. And he can actually hit things. It's a miracle. So yeah, we have installed tracking software on our Golem, and the dude is ready to fuck some things up. So we'll go ahead and pop him over here. Fantastic. Also put our Knight in that direction as well, seeing as Gatalio does not seem like he's feeling like having much of a chance today. So we'll go ahead and just kind of leave him as a red smear on the pavement. Alright, also we saw a little bit of a buff to the Assegai here, which, like, we're not going to see the debuff odds, but either way, we're going to see how accuracy works. Alright. Let's see. Are these guys going to start chucking grenades? I think there's a pretty decent chance they will. Okay, they're just going to mute. Fantastic. Oh yeah, right. Mute is actually based off of vision at this point, so the clerics have a decent chance to actually mute people now instead of just getting completely dominated every time. Did Rakes give Gatalio his reborn portrait? That is still in the works. Apparently the game actually does separate him out enough that it is possible to do it, but possibly only part of the HD mod. It sounds like it may be possible by other means to put it onto original hardware, but it sounds like it's going to end up being a sort of HD mod, little extra asterisk feature, as it were. See, never mind, just saw the Terranite portrait. So yeah, it is actually something that's being worked on. It is technically possible, but currently, from what I understand, the ways that they have of implementing it are a little too awkward to recommend people to do. So yeah, that's gonna be for later. But yeah, as far as the HD mod is concerned, seeing as they're also updating it for the new versions of like Stagger and whatnot, we might potentially see it come out there. All right. Alright, and yeah, Peppa Pike over here, she's just firing a bow to train her anatomy, because again, the Dragonborn's whole thing is that they can use a huge variety of weapons, but they get no weapon skills. So yeah, they train anatomy instead. So they'll be working on that. This dude is blinded, and it actually does properly say blinded. Okay, so that's what I was worried about. I wasn't sure when they were saying that they were being blinded or staggered or whatever else. I wasn't sure if it was going to actually say the old debuff and then just kind of treat it as a new one, or if it was going to need a new icon or whatever. So yeah, no, this doesn't look dorky, and I'm very glad about that. So I was a little bit concerned there for a moment, not gonna lie. I was like, oh, please, please, please don't tell me it, like, after a decade, it finally got too big for its britches. But yeah, no, it's fine. Everything's good. Everything is as it should be. Also, out of nowhere, how on earth did you get, like, 1 extra HP since last patch? I don't know. Anyway. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Don't worry about it. It's okay. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. But, next thing that I need to know, Power Fist. The Power Fist is no longer one-shotting things. I love it. Wait, hold on. The Power Fist can miss now, though. No, that Power Fist, why are you missing things? I don't want to miss a thing. Okay, so, shields can miss now. I feel like that's gonna change. Actually, no, wait. Hold on. Let me go check them patch notes. What does it say about that? What is this formula? How can I make him have less enshittening here? What's the deal? So unarmed is 1.2 accuracy per point of agility, 1 per point of dex. Okay, he is like hard into strength. That's why it's not. That's why this is like its worst case scenario here. He's all strength, no dex or agility. So yeah, that would be why. Dex is almost tied for his lowest stat. So yeah, okay, so I finally have a reason to actually potentially swap him out for a different thing then. Because I had the Power Fist on him strictly because he was able to always inflict stun with it, but it seems like Heavy Shield will actually do that job better for him going forward, so that works out decently well, I think. Alright, now, let's go ahead and Life Force this guy. Yoink. Just take a little bit of his health right there. Nice little meaty chunk. Do we maybe want to take some health from these two? Sure. Now, it seems like as of last patch, Covenant might work a little bit differently so that it only absorbs, it doesn't give back MP. I don't know necessarily if that's accurate or if there was maybe something more to it that I'm missing. But either way, it seems to only be absorbing MP at this point, so there's that. Let's go ahead and just kind of AoE... Interesting! Why are you able to resist that so well? What the hell's your defensive situation? Like, I know... Oh. Yeah, okay, I mean, they're decently defensive, but, surely... Yeah, that's weird. Starfall... Starfall's not feeling so good. Yeah, Starfall is basically Sonic Boom from FFTA, but it's very situational as far as when you actually want to use it. Okay. Which one to use first? This one? Okay. Go all coquettish for the dude, please. That's going to be a miss. Fantastic. Alright. Get a silver. What else? You do your thing. Nothing really too special to talk about here. I probably should have had him go close. But finish him off with the Fell Seal. Fine. You just miss your 70%. We're doing this again. We're doing this thing where we just miss 70% over and over. Double Firestorm. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Are you running Vest? No, but you don't have a shield. Okay, so... currently, Magic Gear is not going to render you completely incapable of getting scratched by basic magic spells anymore, so that does seem to have done its job reasonably well. But if anybody's running a shield or anything a bit more specialized, it seems like it is properly reducing it next to nothing. So if that was the intended result, it is right there, and it happened, and nifty. Sometimes it's hard to tell, but either way, it seems like what was intended happened there. Okay. Next, actually, come to think of it, kind of thinking like maybe at this point, due to some of the stuff that changed, I was wondering. Actually, hold on. You go back here. I want to buff these two. I want to see how this dodge buff feels. So you go ahead and Javelin that guy, take your bash thing. I feel like switching his Heavy Shield out for the Power Fist and switching the Knight's Power Fist out for a Heavy Shield might make them achieve both their goals a little bit better. So we'll see how that plays out. Alright, we'll go ahead and silence this guy. Yeah, don't ever touch the grenades. They are currently perfect. Everything down to the last minute damn detail. They are absolutely perfect. Do not touch these babies. Everything about them cannot be possibly disparaged. Yeah, let's try a little bit of recruit on you. All right. You take your shots. Man, that new minimum evasion is great. Fairy's got a nice little happy glow up here. It's like 5% bonus evasion. It actually matters a little bit, and they're suddenly way more susceptible to trajectory. All right, there's Oblivion, getting all obliviated. Okay, you're gonna poison as you do. These guys do love their grenades, so there's that. So sleep, mute, and grenades as the clerics do. I love how they still use the same gimmick, but it's just so much stronger all of a sudden. Alright, so they're going to dispel away that evasion. They're going to try real hard to mash that fairy's potatoes. I don't know why they're so heavily after that fairy, but whatever. Whatever, it's fine. You just keep going after her. Unfortunate bastards. Okay. Alright, so far so surviving. Now, you need to distill life over here. Then we'll probably just do a big old water splash over in this direction because he... Oh, that does actually hurt him pretty bad. Do we purify? No. We can just do a basic acid rain. What does that look like? Definitely not a good thing in our direction. Okay, whatever. Yeah, you just go ahead and take some swings in this direction, I think. Go, just kind of take that frontal area a little bit. You, on the other hand, are going to go ahead and block off this entire area. Probably can go ahead and throw in a little bit of ginseng action. Just kind of prevent this dude from moving, try to take him in a 1v1. I would expect that Robert here probably would have no trouble beating the guy in a 1v1, but we'll find out when he gets here, I suppose. See, does Gatalio come back to haunt you later if you allow him to escape? Yes, he does. And you also get a title for killing him now, so we're going to go ahead and take our free title. Seeing as we're already in New Game Plus, and we just kind of can go ahead and do that, you know? But yeah, no, he comes back as a boss. If you do kill him... Who replaces him? Is it Apollinaire? Is that... Or am I thinking of a different route? Sorry, Brain, again, is just in pure on mush mode right now. I was just really excited to hear about this patch, though. So had to get in there and do this whole thing. Alright, so... need some coquettish action over here. Can you get close? You can't really get close enough to do much value in that direction. She can go this way, though. See if we can get a coquettish on you. You seem to be the closest available. I don't assume they'll get rid of the charm there, but we can also go ahead and shut down this archer at this point. Maybe probably just go for Morpheus instead. Yeah, just go for absolute zero. Yeah, it's interesting. I like the constant, just like one or the other question as far as the bow goes, because stuff like Leaden, okay, it's going to be obviously situational. Stuff like a AoE, kind of like high DPS, low penetration splash, okay, also kind of situational. But when it comes to the sort of interesting redundancy of Morpheus and Absolute Zero, it's interesting to see. Because you've got this weird situation where both of them ostensibly will shut down a unit in completely different ways, but like, let's say a cleric is usually better off being put to sleep because they can't activate their tabula rasa, whereas, let's say, somebody like a, sorry, brain just completely malfunctioned there. Somebody like an archer is usually better at, getting shackled over there for completely different reasons. Anyways... One Gorgon Lock over here. Honestly, we might as well just have the Golem take this fight, because Gatalio has no free privilege here, so I think we're probably just going to go ahead and free up our knight to go do other things. Now, Malediction got one extra range, as well as Bane. Again, I feel like it was already pretty darn strong to begin with, so No real thoughts one way or the other on that one. That Dark Star probably will not roll high enough, so just go ahead and do one of these. Alright. In T.O. Reborn, I was expecting an endless sea of reinforcements when I stormed Crit and I was disappointed when no one showed up. There are reinforcements that'll show up. It's one of those it depends kind of situations. Like, if you let yourself get bogged down, they absolutely start streaming in from 3 different sections on the map. And depending on which version you're playing, that can potentially really matter. But again, there's some asterisks to all of that. Okay. Let's see, who's got a turn coming up? You do. So we can shacklify this one. There we go. Nice and shackled, and this is feeling pretty good. Of the clerics that are left, they probably should be all worried about getting their existing people back up to scratch. And I think we're more or less solid here. Alright, lastly, we can get one more of them silenced with some more tear gas. Alright, one over here. Yeah, there we go. Let's go ahead and silence Winoa. And that is putting us in a pretty decent position. So this fight can be, like, it can very quickly go out of control. But so far we got him surrounded, we got him absolutely dunked on with debuffs. A lot of them seem to be wanting to focus on offense instead of other things, so good. As long as they're not focusing on getting complete recovery going, then we're all good and safe. See, assuming that was a Reborn-specific change, no, it wasn't. As far as reinforcements go, it depends on how quickly you clear the map. If I recall correctly, I think reinforcements there are on something like a 5-turn timer. And when it comes to Gildora's AI on that map, if it's the one that I'm thinking of anyway, you're going to have a situation where, like, if you end up getting stuck on the bottom right before the bridge, you can very quickly find yourself in a position where everybody from the left has a chance to reinforce. The ones from the bottom right have a chance to come in and come around behind you. From both sides of the top right of the map, like both behind you and ahead of you, they start swarming in, roughly 1 per turn. So if you aren't able to completely manage all of that, it can start getting out of hand relatively quickly. But again, it just sort of depends on your situation at any given time. Okay, we've got our we got our blind going. Actually, wow, Whips got indirectly buffed with that whole blinding thing, because now they potentially are up to 5 debuffs with a single action. So maybe you took the bridge real quick? Yeah, pretty much. That's more than likely what ended up happening there. Let's see, who sleeps? You sleeps. Actually, currently, she's disabled, so she does not need 2 sleeps. But this way, we can go this way, and these guys do the sleeps. So both these are going to be some guaranteed nappy times. There we go. They're all gone, and we're all good. Alright, next the one that is both cursed and afraid should potentially take a crit from this. There we go. Since Curse does bottom out your luck. Next, Mr. Gatalio, that is apparently the danger. Get Power Fisted for the guaranteed stun there. Go ahead and Aegis away our Golem. Probably would have liked to do the same to the Fairy, but oh well. And I love how... Okay, so, weird thought on this whole thing. As far as Gatalio is concerned, like... There was a recent series of videos that was coming out from Resonant Arc talking about how the composer for most of the Final Fantasy games, as well as some of the tracks for Ogre and stuff like that, originally had this whole thing where they had listened to a Suikoden track back in the day, and were upset at not getting enough audio fidelity out of their own instruments and stuff like that. And I almost wonder if they were quietly thinking in the back of their head about wanting to make something similar for this particular map if you manage to surround Gatalio. There's nothing directly stating that anywhere, but I was kind of wonder ever since hearing that. Oh well. Anyway, let's see. So they've got a few units down, we've got one unit down. Our one unit that's down isn't really necessarily doing too much to help us out here. So we're fine there. If we do this one, it may not necessarily be enough to... get Iron Maiden charged up. You know what? Whatever. It's worth a test. Let's go ahead and see if this thing is actually capable of getting all of that back, because I don't know if any of that's changed. Yeah, no, it would just end up being slightly short. Okay. So... First of all, Dark Star. Would that be enough to finish her? Yes, yes, yes. You're currently training Dark, so it actually would end up helping you. No, but she wants TP, though. Let's go ahead and finish this one off. Let's go ahead and eat the MP of everybody else here. It's actually the other thing that's really useful about Covenant. You can just repeatedly sap everybody's MP away from them. Hello, Cleric Hell. Exactly. Oh, she actually did give away her MP. Okay, no, never mind. I think it's just because I have her MP high enough at this point, her, like, maximum MP high enough, that 50% mark is quite a bit higher than I'm used to. That's probably what's going on there. Okay, thankfully not a very good Tabula Rasa usage, but oh well. Alright, I missed his 60%, I'll take it. He takes his stumble, and we're still good to go. Alright, from here we can go for the full surround. Let's see. Shock 3 is probably worth doing on you. Let's kind of go ahead and get this guy all well and down at this point. Get a Faded Circle ready to go on these three over here, so that they get all of their stuff landed. And then that also gives us free potential counter mind control, so that's always good. Getting Rage going on these two, because I'm going to want them for a little bit more DPS-type action in a bit of a moment. A little bit worried about what would happen if I ended up buffing those clerics, though. And then you go ahead and move your surprisingly armored snaky ass over here. Do this whole thing. See, is Covenant basically Lich's Salvation? Yes, except improved by quite a decent bit. So it's the Lich's Salvation, but it also works on both enemies and friendlies, and additionally it also allows you to basically just target an area and just entirely sap everything of all of their MP, which means that in combination with the Lich's other abilities, so like... The Lich gets that, as well as Kashua gets that, so like in Kashua's case, she's able to, let's say, leech an entire area and basically use one of the final boss's moves in the form of Grim Dawn to hit damage plus fear on everything in an area, which is pretty darn cool. But in the case of the Lich, seeing as they're basically a sort of double tap specialist in many ways, they're kind of like a one-shot magic rushdown kind of character. What you often get is that one conviction will be sort of their both defensive play and offensive play at the same time, and that's pretty darn fun. Okay, you're going to go full support mode at this point. Go Quench, or Purify rather, because this dude's poisoned over here, so I want to get rid of that. I would have liked to see another extra 50 heal over on the ferry, but... he's very slightly short on being able to make that happen. Okay, you're going to take your guaranteed thing over here. Go ahead and drop some debuffs, and then go ahead and curse everyone here. Get that curse and weaken going, which means that they should focus on grenades. So that'll help in that direction. Let's see, are any of them low enough? This guy's relatively low. 144 has a chance to crit. What about spells? You're silenced at this point, so that's not going to happen anyway. So you go here. You attempt to hopefully crit this guy. Odds are low, but not zero. Bummer. Oh well. Going to use her book for blocking as you do. Your turn's coming up right now. Hopefully... I mean, she's just going to Tabula Rasa anyway. It's not really going to change very much in that particular equation. Okay, you're going to go ahead and stab Mr. Catalio in the back here. Still out of range to help with Aegis, but we can get this guy near completely blocked in, so he shouldn't be too much of a problem. They're just waiting for us to pass out? I guess so. Oh, let's see. Dear Diary, it's been day 3 of the all-cleric battle. I think they've been doing a lot of cardio. They're not slowing down a bit. Fritzwe just yawned, and the nearby healers are all looking all started grimly smiling in perfect unison. Are they dragging it out until we all collapse from exhaustion? Would be funny if Purify got a bonus when in the rain. I mean, you can actually kind of sort of do that a little bit. Just kind of depends on how much... I don't know how much Prevailing Element affects it at this point. I think that was confirmed to only affect Light and Dark, actually. So maybe not. But you can always go ahead and use something like Storm Call and then just pretend it works. Yes, have Storm Call go and give Healcraft to all of your units. Okay. We should be able to also get another cleric on our side here, so let's go ahead and have you go forward and recruit. 16%, yeah, these guys are super loyal. Holy crap. This guy's... Oh, well, he's gonna roll to 16%. All right, way to go, Mr. Soldier Man. I don't know what you said to that priest, but she just apparently threw her vow of chastity out the window. Holy damn. Something just happened. Okay. Anyways, you go ahead and hit that one, do the old Covenanty thing, steal everyone's MP. Like, currently, all of these guys have MP, and she is about to have a full bar. She's about to have an absolute buffet of everyone's MP here. So just go ahead and Covenant away everything, and they would have had a chance to heal, and now they have a chance to just kind of sit around with their thumbs doing you-know-what. So we'll go ahead and have you heal our healer so that she actually has a chance to be helpful here. RNG is the weakest soldier. Fair enough. Though he actually is, like, specifically designed for that purpose, by the way. Like, that is entirely his role. He just survives things, delays things, stuns things with his heavy shield, and then just kind of goes in for the recruit. He's meant to outlast everything and then kind of sue for peace, so to speak. More than being a directly offensive soldier. I've been saying that for the near entire year that I've been using that particular build. I've adjusted him in many different ways, and DPS was never the answer with that guy. So... Either way, that'll be fine there. Gatalia is going to go for the Shadow Break, which is honestly a pretty decent play, because that is a huge amount of damage you can pull off with that. But thankfully, he stumbled, so it's a way to suck, buddy. Okay. Now, seeing as she's got a light spear, this guy's got heavy armor, and he's currently covered in stone. We'll just go for one of those. I kind of expected that to knock her away her evasion. I'm not sure why, but whatever. But yeah, so far so good. Debuffs do last a decently long time in One Vision, if you're wondering why it is that that one guy's been passed out for what seems like ages. But yeah, they last for a really decently long time. Alright, now. You're gonna get acid rained. Goodbye to you. Beautiful. Alright, so that's one less problem, and then we can go ahead and remedy this guy out of all of his current problems. Thank you, Warlock. You continue to be freakishly OP, and I love you for it. Let's go ahead and get Fearful Impact going. Now then, you're going to go right here. She can't be hit with fear, so that's not going to help. Whatever, Fearify this one, I guess. Blind and feared, as you do. So they get all squinty, because that whip just happened to fly their way. Alright, this guy's silenced. Go ahead and Aegis up our dude over here, and just in case he happens to try to get sneaky with some kind of breakthrough ability, we're just going to go ahead and have our Knight block over there, so Gatalia cannot escape. He will have no chance. He's still a pretty decently solid fight, actually, but he will have no chance. Alright. Next, Crystallize is not looking too great. Arrhythmia can help. Alright. We'll go for the double over here. It's potentially a little bit riskier than necessary, but we'll go for the double in that direction. have her pull away a little bit so that she survives whatever onslaught of nonsense they're going to pull as far as healing is concerned. We should have one poison grenade and or one silencing grenade going out over here. So let's see who's... Yeah, you're going to get tear gassed because your turn's coming up right here. So you get tear gassed. There you go. So she's not going to do any healing. She might attempt to use an item, but will be okay, I think. Let's see. These guys probably want some... Do they even want Fated Circle? And he's just going to go for fear anyway. You know, whatever. Leave that as is. Okay. Next. You go ahead and recurve over on this one. Just for a little bit of extra, and a little bit of extra anatomy training. It goes for the Obliterate. Not super ideal, because that's, well, a couple of people out of commission. Though I do like this accuracy formula rework already, because that is the first time that I've seen Obliterate actually miss in a decently long time. Okay. And we might be able to recruit this one as well. Okay, maybe not. Just go ahead and take your free card, I suppose. Alright. Does recruiting bypass the unit limit? For the purpose of the fight, yes. When you go and end the fight, it'll obviously ask you, like, hey, do you want to keep this person? Do you want to not keep this person? What's your plan? And if you decide to keep them, then obviously you keep them. If you decide not to, then they just go bye-bye. Alright. So the area nuke could be useful. And also looks cool, so we're just going to go ahead and do it. So there's Grim Dawn. Now, she is completely not optimized to use this whatsoever. Grim Dawn is very, very handy for very spell-orientated characters, and she is currently more of a physical fighter. She's more of a fencer, as it were. So this has some great potential to throw out some chaos, especially in places like Palace of the Dead, where it's nice and naturally boosted. But as it stands in this particular zone, not so much. Now, she's at exactly 50%. I'm just kind of curious to see what this does. Okay, it does give away her MP if she's at exactly 50%. Good to know. Also, this Rock Man is now going to punch this Gold Man, and it turns out Rock, tougher than Gold. Who knew? Okay, do you think they'll ever continue the story with a faithful sequel? I'm gonna say the odds are fairly low. Like, as far, like, it depends on whether or not, let's say we got Matsuno over there willing to potentially put somebody else in charge. If somebody else is not put in charge, I don't think so, because it feels like he's just kind of happy to chill at this point. It feels like he's done his writing stuff, he's done his various ideas here, there, wherever. Dude just kind of wants to chill and talk about cats. Like, it's fine. He's done his career, he's done all this stuff, he's done some amazing work, but he doesn't... Maybe I'm wrong, but to me it doesn't sound like he's got it in him to do another one at this moment. But if he goes and passes it to somebody else, like we saw with, let's say, I guess it wasn't really his choice, but we saw with Knight of Lotus, and we saw with Ogre Battle 64, those turned out great, even though they were in the hands of somebody else, and if that happens, then yeah, I'm sure we'll get another one. As it stands right now, like, when Unicorn Overlord came out, there were a lot of requests from a lot of different folks that were basically saying, hey, look, we want to, we want to see another Ogre Battle game, we want to see an Ogre Battle remake, we want to see something happen here, and his answer was more or less, hey, it's perfectly fine to let go of the past, let bygones be bygones, the past is the past, now is now, all of that kind of thing. So it sounded like he wasn't really feeling like doing another one anymore. He's mentioned several times in various different interviews and whatnot that he would do another game if somebody asked him, but also this is the same guy that somehow spent $13 million on a PSP game, so I don't know. I don't know if it'll happen, but if it does happen, then that'd be neat. But like, yeah, when Unicorn Overlord came out, it seemed like he more or less just had this this moment of like, the torch has been passed. There's other people doing the same stuff I did, but cooler, or more modern, I guess you could say. Because like, while it obviously didn't get all of the ogre battle stuff in there, like Unicorn's easily one of the best in the genre. Um, so either way, different ideas are constantly being explored. Different ideas are constantly happening. I don't know if we'll necessarily see a continuation of this series, but if they do pass it on to somebody else, that would be. I feel like that'd be the only way that we end up seeing it happening. Why do Reborn? Nintendo did seem interested. Because it's basically the main one in the series. It's the one that everybody kind of knows the series for. And really, it kind of explores the what the series is about, arguably the most cohesively, because all the other ones had very specific ideas and very specific situations. But like, for example, the SNES version would be really hard to sell anyone on these days. Simply put, because it was a little bit on the basic side, so they wanted to have that feeling. The PSP version tried to be a kind of ultra simulation type of situation, but they got a little bit too carried away with trying to explore every facet of that particular thing. Though thankfully, because they did get so carried away, that's how we have One Vision these days. And yeah, they wanted to continue the legacy of the series somehow. And if there was one game to remake, this would have been the one to do it. It's got the most story stuff in it. It's got the most variation to its story and everything. It's got the most mechanics on that whole level, and generally was sort of the one that they seem to really pour their heart into, more than many of the other ones as far as the actual conflict and thinking through everything and whatnot. So that's kind of the deal there, Like Final Fantasy Tactics was more or less like, how do we sort of dumb down Tactics Ogre in many ways? Not to disparage that game by any means. I'm just saying, like, that's almost directly kind of what they were going for there. It's like, from what I understand, they just approached them. They're like, hey, we like this Tactics Ogre thing. I don't think anyone in the West is going to understand what the hell this was about. Could you maybe translate that to to something else? FF2 is a copycat. I mean, kind of. It did do its own stuff. It did a lot of interesting variants in it. Funnily enough, it actually kind of carried through a lot of the plot elements that originally started in Ogre Battle, and they just never really bothered to actually mention it. Like, I've seen a few folks that completely didn't believe me that all of the Zodiac Stone stuff started in Ogre Battle. And it's funny because it was a total throwaway plot point in that one. And they're like, no, we just have some Zodiac Stones, and they're just mysterious and kind of hanging out in the background, and I think you can find them laying around or something. Oh, no! She left? Why did you leave? Well, anyway, Peppa Pike left. I mean, a Tactics Ogre, no shade. Yeah, no, fair enough. And that's the thing. I love FFT. But yeah, no, I'm curious to see how they're going to remake that one. But yeah, that's a bummer. Okay, Random Monk, how would you like to be our new Dragonborn? Actually, if we're going to do the Yunin side quests, because we're on Law already, maybe I should just get Oshone. Do we even have room in the party for Yunin? We're gonna have to fire some things. Okay, Zombie Cyclops, you've been cool and all, but I think you're the one on the chopping block right now. He's got Salamander, though. Maybe I get rid of this one. Let's see, you've got Augment Earth at 2, you've got Augment Fire at 1. Maybe we just merge them. We merge them into one half-decent Cyclops. Alright, we'll figure that little mystery out in a little bit. Right, hang on. Let's see, it deserves to have a sequel. Have a good night. Yeah, I agree. I completely agree, man. But yeah, no, so from what I understand, part of the reason that, again, that they did Reborn as opposed to just making a whole new game is they more or less just convinced the powers that be to take a little bit of a risk, and emphasis on little bit of a risk because they only had like 1/26 of the budget that the PSP game had allegedly. So yeah, they weren't exactly swimming in money. So all right. Let's go ahead and put that aside and continue on. Square just sitting on all the IPs, doing jack with them. Sort of. That's actually one of those other things that's been mentioned a few times. Like, you have the Ogre series, right? And I think in many cases, while Reborn is amazing, I think in many cases, like, if somebody was given the choice of, like, would you like to see all of the old games ported just in a more basic manner, or would you like to see what we got? As much as, again, I freaking love Reborn, I'm pretty sure many would have just said, hey, can we just get a collection of the Ogre games and just call it good? Now, again, I think the reason that they didn't do that is because not necessarily the IPs are sitting and they're doing nothing with them in that case. It's just that they can't. Like, funnily enough, though, the one place that seems to have any chance of maybe getting some of these old games to actually come back might be Good Old Games, because they've been going and collecting old dead IPs and basically just buying them off of whatever company. Because they keep doing this whole thing where they have just random one-off games and then they just can never work out a deal in terms of what to do with them. Like Knight of Lotus and Ogre Battle 64 are, I believe, owned by Atlas still for some reason. So like Atlas can't do anything. If I understand this correctly, they own the rights to those games, but not the rights to use the IP or something, and then the IP holder has no interest in getting those, because to get another one, they would have to, I guess, get Matsuno on board or something to actually get the thing to sell, and he doesn't want to have any involvement with the stuff that he didn't write or something. I don't know for sure, but from what I've figured, that's sort of, or from what I've heard, that sort of seems to be what's going on. I don't know. I'm no lawyer. All that stuff seems weird, but anyway, where the hell are we going here? Probably, I think we're doing stuff. But yeah, we'll be going to bed here pretty soon as well. But yeah, I would have loved to see the entire series come back, especially Knight of Lotus. But unfortunately, that has not happened. Alright, so seeing as our Dragonborn is Dragon Gone, let's see, we got a Headhunter over here. What do I want to do with you? It's like Beast Tamer's kind of fallen by the wayside. Guess we'll just have you be one of those. Let's have Battle of the Beards. Who's going to be the better Beast Tamer? Zapan as an actual Beast Tamer, or Gamp over there as the Headhunter? In this case, he's got his pistol and his mace, ready to be all crazy and regenerating health. In this case, this guy throws items. He's a bit more cautious about it. Alright. Let's see. Seal of Alacrity, probably, because he's mostly just beef and a prayer. Alright. Let's see. Brigandine. That's probably going to be good enough as far as armor is concerned. Do we want to go for Phantom Cloak? It does cover his res weakness, so... Alright, we'll give it a try. Then we got Fight Duck, and we got the recruit fight. Okay, so I think we'll do Goosen, and then we'll probably call it for the night, because it is getting on the late side here, and tomorrow is going to be a busy day, so... Alright, let's go do some Goosen action here. Still sucks that we had a desertion for the first time in forever, but it's fine. We'll manage. Let's go ahead and throw Vulcan Raven in here, because this one could probably call for some Shaman action. So yeah, let's see. As far as generics that we have on this team at the moment, I think it literally is just Vulcan Raven. But yeah, he's going to be our generic Shaman, meaning that he's our weather guy. Okay. See if Goosen's running anything particularly special. No, he's just running his dual water augment swords. He's got a lot of spells and things. Okay, whatever. I think we're all good to go there. Alright, so is there a good way to raise loyalty? I don't know if it's similar to Reborn where leveling up skills and such help. Yes, it works the same way. If you rank up their skills, they will end up going and doing the same thing, or they'll end up ranking up a lot faster. And the funny part is, there's a lot of things that kind of quietly affect what you end up seeing out of the reactions of your people. Like technically, if you go against their choices in dialogue, and says Valeria be damned, like, give her a week, she's suddenly like, no, Valeria needs to be united. Um, anyways, so like if you make choices that go against them, you know, it goes down a little bit, whatever else. In that unit's particular case, I believe it's because we were occasionally fighting Bakram units, and she was Bakram herself. And then that, coupled with a couple of dialogue choices, just made her very upset. But yeah, skills going up will improve everything. Cards being collected will improve things. Winning fights will improve things. But I think I probably had her fire on some Bakram units, and maybe that's what she was all super upset about. But I was trying to get her anatomy raised up, because it was fairly close to leveling up, in order to try and get her out of that funk, but it did not work in that particular case. But yeah, weapon skills usually a lot faster to rank up than racial skills, especially anatomy. So there's that too. And yeah, the reason that it works so fast in Reborn is simply because they never really adjusted the speed after they converted the old skills to the new ones. So like in this one, you rank up a skill, and it's kind of a whole big momentous occasion for them, and yeah, they're gonna get a big spike in loyalty, and it's a notable spike, but it's not going to be like they instantly max out. Whereas, let's say in Reborn, you give somebody like a casting dagger or something, you equip 4 weapon skills on them, and they have just instantly maxed their loyalty with a single, a single item usage. It's just because it's kind of stacking all those bonuses at the same time. So. I guess they didn't expect anyone to abuse it, but if they did expect anyone to abuse it, I guess they really didn't care too much, which is fair enough, I suppose. Okay, Magic Leaf on you, so that you can do all of your shenanigans. Alright. Then we'll also get one more Ginseng. I think I can use that on you. Maybe not. I'm gonna need a item thrower to use some Ginseng on him, but whatever, we'll be fine. We will be fine. Oh, by the way, random note. So I thought that this was BS, and the only reason I remember this is because I was suddenly remembering the that Cards Against Humanity card, talking about the flute solo from My Heart Will Go On. Sorry, very random thing, but apparently you can't actually play any of the music from the movie Titanic on a cruise ship. Allegedly, it's just kind of written against the rules in a lot of cases. Which, yeah, very random note, but randomly find that out today, and went and looked that up, and supposedly it's true. So neat, I guess. Totally useful information, because who remembers what the hell played in Titanic, aside from My Heart Will Go On, which I know I personally only remember because the Chinese buffet that was nearby us growing up never stopped playing it, so, I guess that's just the one thing they had a license for or something, who knows. But every single Sunday, it was just like cheap $7 buffet, and then listening to the same kind of cheaply burned music soundtracks over and over while sitting there and being told the crab legs were allegedly very good. I don't know, they had cheap sweet and sour chicken, so that was nice too. Okay. Anyway, anything special about this fight currently? Not really. Sun Spears bouncing off of Kashua, as they do. Because they're over there throwing all kinds of stuff, and she's just bouncing off in all kinds of various different definitions. Okay. Now, are you able to use items? No. You don't understand how items work. Cragfall, is this something that works for you? Yes, although he's doing pretty poorly with this, actually. Which I suppose is fair. He doesn't really have the skills, he doesn't necessarily have the gear. That's kind of to be expected, I suppose. You built him wrong! Why did you expect him to work right? Because he's got a cool hat, that's why. thought the magic system was suddenly updated to work on style alone, and apparently that's just not how that's allowed to work, so fine. Okay. However, we will need some throwing items, because I do want to affect the weather a little bit, so we'll go ahead and give him some ginseng to get some of that storm call action going, so we can get some mass stun going. Because, again, Shaman's got indirectly buffed with this last patch, because storm call, for anyone that hasn't used them yet, storm call is a huge area of the map, roughly half the map in size, give or take. That is going to have a 25 locked-in percent chance to inflict stun on everything. Which means in this case, all of those dodges that they were doing will no longer be happening, so that'd be cool. And it looks cool, and it makes the rain happen, and we're going to pretend it makes Purify stronger, so there's that too. Vulcan Raven, even in OV, isn't free from grenade attacks. No, he is not. And yeah, when I was trying to come up with a name for a generic shaman, I kept hearing. Okay, I don't know if anyone's heard the. I think it's technically Starbomb that did the album, but it was just like the simple plot of Metal Gear Solid or something like that. And it's just Snake basically rapping out the plot to his game. And there's just one line in there that's just like a Vulcan Raven something something and an Alaskan Shaman. I'm like, I just have that stuck in my head randomly, even though I haven't heard that song in years. But hey, brain's gonna brain like that sometimes, I guess. But it was just the first thing that came to mind. Like, that's just who we're gonna go with. I don't care if they're not bald. I don't care if they're not technically using ice. Whatever. It's gonna work, damn it. Alright. Are you able to Fel Seal from here? Do you have the points for Fel Sealification? No. How... Fine. What about Blasphemy? Right. Let me go here, do a little bit of the old Blasphemy, which is exactly what you'd expect from a flying holy man. It's fine. As you do, Ward and Spell Strike on everyone. A little bit of Dragon Slayer is not going to help us right now, but it's there for later. And for anyone wondering, it's because he's got the Dragon Slayer set, not because they innately get Dragon Slayer. And I constantly feel like I have to explain these things because there's always comments after the fact like, oh my god, I refuse to play One Vision because, oh my god, they gave, like, longbows to fairies. How unprecedented in the series, and this has never happened ever. Oh my goodness, they let knights use swords with slightly longer handles. How could they? My immersion! Anyway. There's always something. People will always find something to complain about, no matter what. But such is life. Such is life. Alright. Now. Currently, Goosen is not getting anywhere close, but his front line is falling apart a little bit. We really can't safely do very much to him, since most of our attacks that can actually kind of clinch him down would have to come from our spellcasters, most of whom can't really necessarily afford to break away at the moment. So currently, the target is going to be this happy lady over here, doing her whole healing thing. Should be able to quickly barrage her down with whatever missiles are there, surround Goosen, and then we should be in a decent position to do something. Let's see, I recall something about Dragon Gear classifying the unit as a dragon. Is that in one of the older games? That was from Knight of Lotus, and I believe they did some variants of that in Ogre Battle 64 as well. But no, in Knight of Lotus you could use the Dragon Breath abilities if you decided to go cosplay as a dragon. So, nifty. Okay. So you are going to go ahead and go Drain Heart here. So this is one of those things that makes both Drain Heart and yeah, both Drain Heart and Life Force really solid here. because they're always going to be based off percentage in this one, which means that they're oftentimes a very good way to take away bosses. And also, since technically Covenant counts as a physical attack, we're just going to go ahead and take that away from him too. We're going to go ahead and Life Force this over here, and then that gives her a few rounds of Word of Pain 3, which is going to cost a whopping 50 at this point, but it also hits accordingly, so there's that. New OV update? Yes, it was. Version 1.10, so lots of accuracy changes. We got some new equipment, including a basically gold-plated deagle that exercises undead, that is more or less a, shall we say, invention designed for enthusiastic walks. From there, we also have a few new class updates as far as like availability and stuff like that. So like early Headhunter in the form of Zapan. We get Zapan and Vice actually get Headhunter at this point in case you don't want to lock them in. You get Priest available on Donalto. Forget what the other one was, but either way, lots of little changes. With the accuracy formula, you just saw one of the changes happen, which is that attacks from the front now bottom out at 20% instead of 25%. Back attacks bottom out at 60 instead of 55, so facing matters a decent chunk more again. So that's nice as well. There was a change to the way that a lot of offhand type things focus their accuracy, like in this particular case with the Power Fist, which has gone from basically an unmissable, instantly stunning giga weapon to being a actually balanced tool again. So either way, lots of little changes there. And yeah, Anima Core on Golems got reworked. Like, it was a big one. It was a big friggin' patch. So, love to see it. Love to see it. Now let's go ahead and get some Stormcall going. So this should affect most of the stuff on here. We'll see if anyone gets hit by stun, but it is going to make the rain a lot worse. Okay, got a few stuns off. Oh yeah, stun will actually cause a loss in evasion at this point too. So Leaden still does it better, but stun can do it. So yeah, there's been a lot of interesting accuracy changes that seem like they're going to be pretty fun to learn. Currently, nothing crazy broken or anything. There was also a lot of stuff that got merged together. So like things like False Strike and False Flight basically are just blind now. Things like Sidestep and Dodge are just dodge. So they all got added together in different ways. Stuff like Paranoia has a bunch of new effects added to it. Debuffs got consolidated for Light and Dark with the accuracy formulas. Some stuff changed so that it's based off of line of sight. Just in general, the kinds of stuff that you would expect to be line of sight, like you got Charm and Mute that are going to be line of sight, but you've got basic attack spells that are going to be worrying about facing a lot more. You have stuff like the mental spells, like the stuff that'll put people to sleep or whatever, that are all based on overwhelming mental stats instead of kind of aiming for avoidance and stuff like that. So there's a lot more debuffs that will be affecting highly evasive units and such. So there's a lot of changes in 1.10. Anyway, that's all I got time for here this evening. So thank you all for stopping by for this little shindig here. Yeah, I will see you in the next one whenever that happens, whatever it happens to be. I did promise to do Aiden Chronicle at some point, so we'll probably do that tomorrow. Maybe we'll see. But yeah, thank you guys, and yeah, go and try this thing. Oh yeah, God Hand buff reveal. Yeah, God Hand got buffed. Many things got buffed or indirectly buffed. Like basically, Terror Knights are now functionally running around with the option to throw out 5 debuffs with a single turn. You got stuff with Priests being able to run Thanatology plus the Alexander gun to basically get the benefit of a max rank racial bonus on top of a gun that insta exercises stuff if it kills. Like there's a bunch of new goodies that got thrown in there. So please go read those patch notes if you missed them earlier. And yeah, I gotta get going. Y'all have yourselves a good one. Take care, and thank you as always for stopping by. Later.